All right, I did it. I finally managed to get my hands on one of my bucket list pedals, the rare and highly sought after Electronic Audio Experiments Hypersleep. Big thanks to my friend Basement Lyle for letting me borrow this. If you're not familiar with Basement Lyle's channel, subscribe from the link below. He makes amazing videos, truly gorgeous playing, where he runs like synths and pianos and keyboards through pedals. Gorgeous work. So anyway, he let me borrow this, and let me say this. When I first hooked it up, I didn't really get it. It doesn't behave like a normal reverb, which I expected, but like the sounds it was making, it didn't click for me. So I played it a bit more, and then I let it sit for a while, and then I came back to it. And that was where the switch happened for me. I guess my brain and my fingers and my wherever creativity comes from finally had a chance to kind of click into place with this pedal. And it really did. I found myself like deeply loving the sounds from the Hypersleep. So what is it? This is a reverb pedal. It is an analog solid-state reverb based on the MN3011 Bucket Brigade chip. Why that's important is that those chips are basically not possible to get anymore, and as a result, the Hypersleep is out of production. So this pedal has become something a lot of people lust after and, scour reverb and, offer up for. But unfortunately, everybody knows that, and the prices are insane. So if you do find one for a reasonable price, get it. I can personally attest to how incredible it is, and hopefully this video, in some respect, shows some of those capabilities off. All right, so let's get into the controls. So this is the V2, which has a few differences from the V1. The V2 has relay bypass, so there's no click, which is always amazing. The power supply has been optimized, so there's a reduced current draw and less background noise, and the filtering has been updated for improved bandwidth and clock suppression. But both V1 and V2 are certainly more similar than they are different. All right, so level will control the overall volume or level of the effect itself. Something I really love here is that it will start to overload and get dirty in higher settings. Space is your delay time, or I guess you can kind of think of it as like the size of the reverb. Mix will control the balance of wet and dry signal. It can go fully dry to fully wet. Feedback controls the decay time of the reverb, and you can get into self-oscillating settings here. Rate will control the rate of the modulation from basically off to super fast. And depth will control the depth of modulation. Again, super subtle to, really intense, big up and down pitch bends. For today's demo, I'm using my 2021 Dunnable Yeti Custom, and this has Dunnable Grizzly pickups that are custom wound to be low output and unpotted. From there, we'll be running into my Universal Audio Apollo X6 interface, and then into the Softtube JMP 2203 amp plugin. All right, so for this first section, we're going for a subtly modulated kind of cavernous reverb. There is a metallic quality to the Hypersleep that I love so much. I really dig that in recent years, people have really started to embrace unnatural sounding reverbs. The quote, real sounding reverbs are wonderful, and you should have those too. But when a reverb can take you to a place that doesn't exist, it's super fun. So here we get a little sway, a little modulation. There's almost the feeling of like a pre-delay is there, where there's this like bloom that kind of opens up after notes are played. Super gorgeous. Feel free to pause for settings. For all the clips today, we'll be pairing this with the Halberd V2 from Electronic Audio Experiments. I also did a full demo of this, and if you want to hear, in my opinion, maybe one of the best overdrives ever made, check that video out too. Anyway, it's a great sound. Enjoy. this next clip, we're going for a little dirtier sound, both in the settings on the Halberd and the settings on the Hypersleep. And you can pause to see what we're working with. So here it's quite a bit more gritty. There's a quality, especially in higher notes, where it almost like it swirls around in distortion. I have the modulation off here, but the way it just kind of like eats itself was immensely satisfying. You also hear at the end when I'm doing kind of like percussive notes and letting them ring out and have some space. There's like the sound of my input signal and then this swell behind it, where what I'm guessing is the drive of the input is lowering enough to allow the reverb to escape from underneath it. So rad. In this last section, we're going to use the self-oscillation and intense modulation of the Hypersleep as a musical companion. So in the beginning, when I just turn on the pedal, you're going to hear the self-oscillation already happening. It's constantly feeding back into itself with these huge, slow, waves of modulation happening. So these big pitch bends over this kind of swirly, distorted reverb sound. And that is going to be a bed upon which I'm playing over. Pause for settings. Something I love about this is how well the mix control is balanced, where as I'm playing softer, you hear this kind of accompaniment, and then as I'm digging in harder, it almost just kind of reverts to being more of a standard for the Hypersleep reverb. And then as I back off, you hear it coming in again. It just adds a texture and a quality to this that you can't get a lot of other ways. And I'm a huge fan of being able to use noise in a musical way. So it's not just like, here's my playing and then there's noise, or the noise is here and then I play. I love that it can be a part of the composition itself, it can be part of the music. It's not an afterthought or separate, and it's not a gimmick. So having a tool like this that allows you to utilize noise and chaos and uncertainty in a really creative way is just incredible. Enjoy. And that'll do it for the Hypersleep V2 from Electronic Audio Experiments. Obviously, this is not something you can just go out and buy. If you have the opportunity to get one and you're able, I would definitely recommend that. I've had a couple of opportunities and I never went through with it, and I won't let that happen again. This is a unique, interesting, fun, creative pedal that there's a little bit of a learning curve, not because it's complicated, but because figuring out where you fit with it and where it fits with you takes time. I love that type of challenge. I adore any part of the creative process where it makes me work a little harder, where it makes me think a little more or dig a little deeper. And, pedals just in general are devices to meet that end. So yes, they make cool sounds and they're super fun, but the idea for me is that they'll push me to places I wouldn't normally go. Or if I thought about a sound I wouldn't think of that sound, but I can find it and then find new areas of my creativity in there. You know, aside from like making really cool friends through this channel and, you know, partnering with brands and being sent gear to demo and building all these cool relationships, as a musician, as an artist, the putting out, you know, 15 to 30 minutes of new improvised music every week has forced me way past comfort levels, way past my preconceived notions or perception of who I am as a musician. And it's in part to pedals like this. So obviously, glowing recommendation for me, a billion out of 10. It's a rad pedal, pairs perfectly with the Halberd, which pairs perfectly with everything. So check that video out too. If you dig all the content, consider hitting subscribe. That helps my channel grow. I want the channel to grow. Also, I have merch. So feel free to go to boringgearreviews.com, links in the description, and check all that stuff out too. Everything else I'm using is down below. And until next time, peace.